Research is hard, but your tools should not be. Subthesis.com is the free alternative to expensive software. Whether you need to calculate Cronbach's alpha or organize your field notes, Subthesis has a tool for it. No paywalls and no registration required. Check the link in the description and let's dive into today's lesson. Welcome to Section B of the Graduate School Prep Series, focused on funding your graduate education. This is where idealism meets reality. Graduate school is expensive, and how you pay for it significantly affects both your educational experience and your post-graduation financial health. Many students make critical funding mistakes. Some take on devastating debt for degrees that don't generate corresponding income. Others don't apply for funding they could have received because they didn't know it existed. Some accept unfunded positions when funded alternatives were available. The financial decisions you make around graduate school will affect your life for years, sometimes decades. Understanding your options thoroughly before committing is essential. By the end of this video, you'll understand the major types of graduate funding, their advantages and trade-offs, and how to develop a realistic funding strategy for your specific situation. Here's what you'll learn. First, you'll understand the differences between major types of graduate funding: fellowships, assistantships, scholarships, and loans. These aren't interchangeable. Each has distinct characteristics. Second, you'll evaluate the advantages and trade-offs of each funding type. Free money sounds better than loans, but the full picture is more nuanced. Work requirements, tax implications, and career development all factor in. Third, you'll assess realistic funding expectations for different program types. PhD students have different funding landscapes than professional master's students. Knowing what to expect helps you plan appropriately. Fourth, you'll develop a comprehensive funding strategy that combines multiple sources appropriately for your situation. Let's start with the big picture of graduate funding. The graduate funding landscape includes several distinct categories. Fellowships and grants are what people think of as free money. These are awards given for merit, need, or specific characteristics without work requirements. You receive funding simply for being you and doing your research or studies. Assistantships are funding packages that include work requirements. Teaching assistantships require you to assist with courses. Research assistantships require you to work on faculty research projects. These positions typically include tuition waivers plus stipends in exchange for part-time work. Scholarships are merit-based or need-based awards that typically reduce tuition costs. They may come from the university, external organizations, or government sources. Unlike fellowships, scholarships often don't provide living expenses. Loans are borrowed money that must be repaid with interest. Federal student loans offer relatively favorable terms. Private loans typically have higher rates and fewer protections. Loans should generally be a last resort after other options are exhausted. Understanding these categories is essential because they have different implications for your taxes, your time, your resume, and your post-graduation finances. Fellowships represent the gold standard of graduate funding. They provide financial support without work requirements, allowing you to focus entirely on your studies and research. This freedom accelerates your progress and reduces stress. Fellowships carry prestigious recognition. A National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship or a Ford Foundation Fellowship on your CV signals that you've been recognized as exceptional by competitive national review processes. This recognition benefits you throughout your career. Major fellowship sources include the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship for STEM fields, NIH Fellowships for Biomedical Research, the Ford Foundation for Promoting Diversity in Academia, and numerous university-specific fellowships. Each has different eligibility requirements and application processes. Fellowships are highly competitive. Application rates often exceed 90% rejection. The process requires extensive documentation, research proposals, and personal statements. The effort is worthwhile, but realistic expectations are important. Not everyone receives fellowships, and not receiving one doesn't mean you're not qualified for graduate school. Teaching assistantships fund your education in exchange for instructional work. TAs typically lead discussion sections, grade papers and exams, hold office hours for students, and assist professors with course management. The typical time commitment is 15 to 20 hours per week, though this varies by institution and course. Some weeks are heavier around exam times, others are lighter. The commitment is real and must be balanced with your own coursework and research. Compensation usually includes full tuition waiver plus a living stipend. Stipend amounts vary widely by institution and cost of living. Expect anywhere from $15,000 to $35,000 annually in stipend, with higher cost areas typically offering more. A significant benefit of teaching assistantships is skill development for academic careers. If you want to become a professor, TA experience is essential preparation. You learn to explain complex concepts, manage classrooms, and provide feedback. This experience also helps you evaluate whether you enjoy teaching. For students pursuing non-academic careers, teaching experience is less directly relevant, but still develops valuable communication and management skills. Research assistantships fund your education in exchange for research work on faculty projects. RAs contribute to faculty research in various ways, collecting data, running analyses, managing research operations, writing sections of papers, and conducting literature reviews. When structured well, research assistantship work directly supports your own dissertation research. If your advisor's grant funds your RA position and you're working on research related to your interests, you're essentially being paid to do your dissertation. This is the ideal scenario. Compensation structures mirror teaching assistantships, tuition waiver plus living stipend. Some institutions guarantee summer funding for research assistants while teaching positions end with the academic year. The primary benefit is research experience and close mentorship. You learn to conduct research by doing research alongside experienced investigators. The skills and publications you develop through RA work directly advance your career. For students planning research careers, research assistantships are often preferable to teaching positions. For future professors who will both teach and research, a combination of TA and RA experience is ideal. Beyond teaching and research, other assistantship types exist. Administrative assistantships involve supporting program operations, offices, or services. You might work in the graduate school, an academic department, a research center, or student services. These positions offer funding but may be less directly relevant to your academic work. Residential assistantships provide housing and sometimes stipends in exchange for work in residential life. You might supervise undergraduate dormitories or support student programming. These positions can significantly reduce living expenses through free housing. Some graduate fellowships include assistantship components. You might receive fellowship funding for part of the year and assistantship funding for another part. These hybrid arrangements provide financial stability while preserving some time for independent work. Hybrid positions combining responsibilities also exist. A position might split between teaching and research, or between research and program administration. These combinations provide diverse experience but require careful time management across multiple obligations. Scholarships and tuition discounts reduce your educational costs, though they often don't cover living expenses. Merit scholarships are awarded based on academic achievement, typically undergraduate GPA, test scores, and accomplishments. Strong applicants may receive significant merit awards that reduce tuition substantially. Need-based aid considers your financial circumstances. FAFSA completion is typically required. Graduate students receive less need-based aid than undergraduates, but some programs have need-based components to their financial aid packages. Department scholarships are field-specific awards from your academic department or school. Professional associations often fund scholarships for students in their field. Public health departments might have awards specifically for public health students, for example. External scholarships come from organizations outside your university, professional associations, foundations, community organizations, employers, and government agencies. These require separate applications with their own deadlines and requirements. We'll discuss finding these in the next video. Unlike assistantships, scholarships usually don't include living expenses. A full tuition scholarship still leaves you needing funds for housing, food, transportation, and other costs. Federal student loans are the most common and generally best loan option for graduate students. Direct unsubsidized loans are the standard federal option for graduate students. You can borrow up to $20,500 annually. Interest accrues during school, but payments can be deferred. Rates are fixed and set by the federal government each year. Direct Plus loans allow additional borrowing up to the cost of attendance minus other aid. They have higher interest rates than standard direct loans and require a credit check, though criteria are less strict than private loans. These provide flexibility but come at higher cost. Federal loans require FAFSA completion. File your free application for federal student aid each year to maintain eligibility. Even if you don't think you'll need loans, completing FAFSA keeps options open and is required for some scholarships. Federal loans offer advantages over private loans: fixed rates, income-driven repayment plans, potential forgiveness programs, and flexible deferment options. If you must borrow, maximize federal options before considering private loans. Private student loans should be a last resort after all other options are exhausted. Private loans typically carry higher interest rates than federal loans. While federal rates are fixed by law, private rates vary by lender and your credit worthiness. Rates can be significantly higher, increasing your total repayment substantially. Private loans offer fewer repayment protections. They generally don't qualify for income-driven repayment plans, public service loan forgiveness, or the flexible deferment options federal loans provide. If you face financial hardship, you have fewer options. Many private loans require a credit-worthy cosigner, especially for graduate students without substantial income or credit history. This puts your cosigner at risk if you can't repay. Private loans can make sense in specific circumstances: when federal limits are insufficient, when you have excellent credit and can secure rates comparable to federal loans, or when other options simply don't exist. But they should never be your first choice. Before taking private loans, ask hard questions about whether you're borrowing responsibly and whether the degree will generate income to support repayment. PhD funding expectations differ significantly from master's programs. At quality PhD programs, full funding is the standard expectation. Programs that admit doctoral students typically provide tuition waivers plus living stipends for the duration of the program, conditional on satisfactory progress. A typical package includes full tuition waiver and an annual stipend ranging from $18,000 to $35,000 depending on institution, field, and cost of living. This isn't generous wealth, but it's livable and you're not accumulating debt. Unfunded doctoral offers should raise serious concerns. They may indicate you weren't a competitive applicant, the program doesn't properly support its students, or the program is a low quality. Accepting unfunded doctoral positions is rarely advisable. If you're not competitive enough to be funded, you may not be competitive in the academic job market either. Summer funding varies. Some programs guarantee 12-month support, others provide only 9 months. Some offer summer teaching or research opportunities, others leave you to find your own summer funding. Ask explicitly about summer support when evaluating offers. Master's program funding looks quite different from doctoral funding. Full funding covering tuition plus living expenses is less common for master's programs. Many master's students pay substantial portions of their costs through loans, savings, or employer support. This is the reality of the master's market. Partial funding through scholarships, tuition discounts, and assistantships is often available. Strong applicants may receive merit awards. Students with financial need may receive some assistance. Graduate assistantship positions exist at many programs, but piecing together full coverage is challenging. Professional master's programs, like many MPH, MBA, or MPA programs, often expect students to self-fund through loans and personal resources. These programs are designed for working professionals who continue earning during their studies or who expect significant income increases post-graduation. Research-oriented master's programs with thesis requirements may have more funding availability, particularly through research assistantships connected to faculty grants. If full funding matters to you, research track programs may offer better options than professional programs. Employer tuition benefits are often underutilized funding sources. Many employers offer tuition reimbursement or educational assistance programs. These benefits help employers develop their workforce while helping employees advance their education. Check your employee benefits carefully. The typical annual benefit is at least $5,250, which is the amount employers can provide tax-free. Many employers offer more, though amounts beyond this threshold may be taxable income. These benefits often have conditions. You may need to maintain a minimum GPA, study a field related to your job, or continue employment for a period after completing your degree. Leaving employment early might require repaying the benefit. Understand these terms before relying on employer funding. Some employers fund full degree programs for valued employees they want to develop for leadership roles. This might involve full tuition coverage, flexible work arrangements, or even sabbatical time for full-time study. If you're a strong performer, explore what your employer might offer. Tax implications of graduate funding affect your actual take-home resources. Scholarships and fellowships applied to tuition and required fees are generally not taxable income. Money covering qualified educational expenses doesn't count as income for tax purposes. Stipends for living expenses are generally taxable income, even if they're called fellowships. Money you receive for living expenses, regardless of how it's labeled, is typically taxable. This means your actual purchasing power is less than the stated stipend amount. Employer educational benefits are tax-free up to $5,250 annually. This is why many employer programs cap at this amount. Benefits beyond this level may be added to your taxable income. Tax situations vary based on individual circumstances, state laws, and specific funding arrangements. This general guidance doesn't substitute for professional tax advice. Consult a tax professional about your specific situation, especially if you have complex funding arrangements or significant fellowship income. Understanding your after-tax resources helps you budget realistically and avoid surprises at tax time. Develop a layered funding strategy that maximizes free money before resorting to debt. Layer 1 focuses on fellowships and grants. Apply broadly to every opportunity you're eligible for. Yes, competition is fierce, but money you receive through fellowships has no work requirements and no repayment obligations. The application effort is worthwhile. Layer 2 is assistantships and institutional scholarships. These often come as part of your admission offer, but negotiation is possible. Strong applicants with multiple offers can sometimes secure better packages. Assistantships require work but build valuable experience. Layer 3 includes employer support and personal savings. If your employer offers tuition benefits, maximize them. If you've saved money for education, this is the time to use it. These resources have no repayment requirements. Layer 4, the last resort, is federal student loans. Borrow only what you need after other resources are exhausted. Federal loans are better than private loans, but still create debt that constrains post-graduation choices. Work through this hierarchy systematically. Don't jump to loans before exploring higher layers thoroughly. Many students don't realize that funding offers are often negotiable, especially for desirable candidates with competing offers from other programs. Be professional in any negotiation attempt. Express genuine interest in the program. Be specific about what you're asking for. Additional fellowship funding, an assistantship position, increased stipend. Vague requests for more money are less effective than specific, reasonable requests. Leverage competing offers appropriately. If another program offered a better package, it's reasonable to mention this. Program X has offered me full funding, and I'm weighing this against my strong interest in your program. Is there flexibility in the financial package? This isn't manipulative, it's sharing relevant information. Know when negotiation is and isn't appropriate. Doctoral programs with standard funding packages may have less flexibility. Programs that admitted you with less than full funding might be willing to increase support. Master's programs with limited scholarship budgets may have constraints. Read the situation appropriately. Avoid these common funding mistakes. Not applying for fellowships because you don't think you'll get them is self-defeating. Yes, fellowship acceptance rates are low, but you definitely won't receive funding you don't apply for. The application effort is small relative to the potential return. Apply broadly. Accepting unfunded doctoral offers is usually unwise. If a program doesn't fund you, they're signaling something about your competitiveness or their commitment to students. The academic job market is brutal. Starting from an unfunded position makes an already difficult path even harder. Underestimating total cost of attendance leads to financial crises mid-program. Tuition is just part of the cost. Add housing, food, health insurance, transportation, books, professional conferences, and emergencies. Build a realistic budget before committing. Overborrowing beyond actual need creates unnecessary debt. Some students borrow the maximum available rather than the minimum necessary. Every extra dollar borrowed accrues interest and requires repayment. Borrow only what you genuinely need. Build your funding research into your overall application process. Research program-specific funding as you evaluate programs. What funding do admitted students typically receive? What percentage receive full funding? What assistantship opportunities exist? Ask these questions directly to programs and current students. Identify external fellowship and scholarship opportunities relevant to your field and background. Professional associations, foundations, government agencies, and community organizations all offer funding. We'll discuss finding these opportunities in detail in the next video. Complete FAFSA regardless of your expected eligibility. You may be eligible for more than you expect. Some scholarships require FAFSA completion, even for merit-based awards. Filing keeps your options open. Track deadlines systematically. Fellowship and scholarship deadlines don't always align with admission deadlines. Some occur much earlier. A spreadsheet tracking opportunities, requirements, and deadlines prevents missed opportunities. Ask programs these direct questions about funding. What percentage of students receive full funding? Not what's theoretically possible, but what students actually receive. Programs should be able to tell you this. Evasive answers suggest limited funding. What is the typical funding package composition? Is it fellowship, teaching assistantship, research assistantship, or some combination? Understanding the composition helps you know what work will be expected and what experiences you'll gain. Is funding guaranteed for multiple years? Some programs guarantee funding for a specific period, say 5 years for a doctoral program, conditional on satisfactory progress. Others make year-by-year decisions. Guaranteed funding provides security. Uncertain funding creates stress. What is the expected summer funding situation? Does the program provide 12-month support or only 9 months? Are summer opportunities typically available? What percentage of students receive summer funding? This affects your annual budget significantly. Ask these questions to programs and to current students. Current students know the reality better than admissions materials convey. Let's summarize the key points about graduate funding. Multiple funding types exist with different characteristics and trade-offs. Fellowships provide free support but are competitive. Assistantships provide support with work requirements that build experience. Scholarships reduce costs but often don't cover living expenses. Loans should be a last resort. PhD programs at quality institutions typically offer full funding. Unfunded doctoral offers should raise concerns. Master's program funding varies. Full funding is less common, and many students self-fund through loans, savings, or employer support. Develop a layered funding strategy that prioritizes free money. Apply for fellowships broadly. Seek assistantships and scholarships. Use employer benefits and savings. Borrow through federal loans only as a last resort after other options are exhausted. Research funding thoroughly before committing to any program. Understand what you'll actually receive, not just what's theoretically possible. Ask direct questions. Factor funding into your program decision alongside fit and quality. In our next video, we'll dive deep into finding and winning scholarships for graduate school. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in the next video. Writing the thesis is a marathon, not a sprint, but you do not have to run it alone. If you are feeling stuck with your data or overwhelmed by your sources, let us help. Head over to subthesis.com. It is completely free and designed to make your life easier. You are making progress. Keep going. And don't forget to subscribe for more support.